Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to the Dyslexic Reader. Today I'm going to be doing my March wrap up. March wasn't a very good reading month for me because of the first book that I read. It was a book that I had been wanting to read for ages, and it was Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. I don't even have it with me because I borrowed it from the library and I gave it back. I wanted to read this book for so long. It took me I was so long in it, and I DNF'd it. I was a good chunk into it. I think it was like 400 pages in. It's like a 700 page book, and I just couldn't continue on anymore. I didn't like it. I didn't connect to the characters. I didn't think the story was enthralling. I thought it was like so much of it like could have been like edited out. Like there wasn't need for half the stuff. And I don't know, maybe if I'd got to the end, all those little things would have become important, but I highly doubt it. I didn't really feel any connection to any of the characters, and I just couldn't get into it. So because I was reading that, I wasn't really enjoying it, so I wasn't reading an awful lot because I was like, oh, this again. And I read it for so long before DNFing it because I really wanted to read it, so I was like, no, stick with it, it might get better. But that basically took up the first 2 weeks of March. I think I like set it down. I started it a couple of days before March started. I mentioned it in my February wrap up that I was just starting it. And I think it was like the 14th of March or something when I set it down, so it literally took up half the month and I didn't even finish it. And then I was in a bit of a bad mood, like reading wise, after that, so it hasn't been too good, but I did read 5 books, so I suppose that's quite good, which is on par with February. I think I read 5 books, but they were more substantial books. But anyway, I'm just going to do them in the order that I read them in. The first 3 books are all library books. I go to the library at the start of every month and pick between 3 and 4-ish, and always read them first before I start like dipping into the stuff on my shelves. So I had these 3 books and I couldn't decide which order to read them in because I was excited about them all, so I just looked them up on Goodreads and started with the lowest and worked my way up, but that's not the way that I would rate them. The first one that I read was Alistair Grimm's Odd Aquaticum. I didn't like this as much as I thought I would. I'm tempted. I would give it a 3.5 star. I don't do half stars, but like sometimes I think about it, I'm like, no, it's a 3, and then other times it's like, oh no, I really like this, but maybe it's a 4. So I really don't know with this one. My mind's sort of jumping back and forth. But it caught my eye because it's Victorian, it's magical, it's a bit steampunk, it's mechanical. I've got Howl's Moving Castle sitting on my shelf, which I haven't read yet. It seemed like the child's version of that, almost. Where in the young boy on the cover, it sort of starts halfway through the story, which I liked. I normally don't like that, but it almost feels as if you're reading the second book. But everything that happened in the first book was explained, so like, his mother died and he was given to this couple and she was really nice, but she died and then he was horrible and he ran away and he managed to get stowed on this sort of magical castle where this weird eccentric collects magical antiques, and he became like his little, like, I don't want to say servant, but like little helper around the place. He kept him on, and then it turns out he's his son, but they've already found all this out by the time the book starts. And it's just, yeah, they're just battling this guy who wants his hands on the magic for sort of ill will. But what really caught me when I was reading the blurb was the fact that they're on a quest for Excalibur. And I love sort of like Arthur, Knights of the Round Table, Excalibur, Camelot, all that stuff. Like, I don't like it like purely as like historical fiction, but I like it when books, stories sort of incorporate that and like sort of like maybe contemporary, like go back in time or whatever. So I really like that element to it, and that actually worked really well and I really enjoyed it. I just felt, Yeah, there was a good few twists. I liked the characters. I don't know why I didn't give it a 4. I don't know why I gave it a 3. I think I was in, as I said, a bad mood when I read it. But I did really like this. It was quite long. Let's see. Yeah, it was like 350, 400 pages, something like that. So it was quite long. But I did enjoy it, I guess. The next one I moved on to was Circus Mirandus. I'm not going to go too much in detail. Because of this, I've got a review, a full video review of just this on my channel, where I gushed over this because it was a 5-star and I absolutely loved it. And I'm so glad I picked it up. It was so good. I'll leave my review for this in the description below. And then I read Cogheart, which I almost DNF'd as well. This, out of my library books, was the highest rated on Goodreads. I think it was an average of like 4.3 or something, which is quite high. And out of the 3, looking at them before I looked on Goodreads, this was the one I was most intrigued about. It's got a beautiful cover. It was sort of related to the Alistair Grimm. It's sort of like Victorian, but clockwork and a bit of magic thrown in. And a little girl whose dad's in mortal peril, and her friend and her mechanical fox go into the menacing world of London, and it just sounded really good. It was the same a bit as the other one. I found that like good 60 to 70 pages of this just could have been edited out. A lot of it didn't seem necessary. The bits at the end, like the last third, was like twist, 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 twist. And quite a few of them I did see coming. Like who the overall villain was obvious by like the 2nd chapter, and they didn't find out till like the last chapter. But there was quite a few wee twists coming up to the end which I hadn't got. So yeah, it was quite actiony, but I almost felt as if I was skim reading parts because I just knew like it was not going to have any bearing on the story. But I gave it a 4-star because I did quite like the ending. Then a second 5-star, which I'm going to review hopefully in the next couple of days. My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. I loved this book. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to do a full review, but this was absolutely fantastic. It was gothic, suspense, thriller, classic, bit of romance thrown in there, which I normally don't like, but it was done so good in this. It was like haunting and eerie. Really good. 5 stars. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I just finished this yesterday because I rushed through this incredibly short book to get it on my wrap up for this month, so I wouldn't have to wait until the end of April to talk about it, where I would probably have forgotten. Is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. This was good. I enjoyed it. Now, it's sort of split up. So the actual story of what happens only takes up 40 pages of the 88 pages. Okay, so this little tiny bit here, that's like the story of what happens. Then the next sort of 10 pages are a letter from a man who sort of witnessed something after, during the event, but they don't find it afterwards. And then the last like whole third is just Henry Jekyll's like a letter they find in his possession where he explains his side of the story. So obviously I'm sure everybody knows, this isn't going to be a spoiler, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it is the one person, and that he takes some sort of medicine that alters his personality and he transforms into Mr. Hyde, who is the sort of evil form of himself. And eventually the potion isn't strong enough and he makes it stronger, and then he can't control it and it starts happening on and off. So the story itself I didn't find that interesting, but the last, the last 20 pages or so, where it is Henry Jekyll's full statement of the case, where he talks about the psychology, why he did it, what he found out, is sort of like a commentary on sort of human and societal sort of veins. I really enjoyed it. It reminded me, that last sort of bit, a lot of the sort of themes that came through in The Picture of Dorian Gray, if you've ever read that by Oscar Wilde. gonna say Oscar Wilde. If I'm wrong, I will look like such a twat. But yeah, it was really the last bit where he was describing himself and sort of the two personalities and what overcame him, and he knew he was doing wrong, but it felt so good type thing. Really reminded me of Dorian Gray. So that was my 5 books for the month. Although it wasn't a great reading month for me, I did get 2 5-stars in, which is quite impressive. I haven't done that this year. I had 1 5-star in January and 1 5-star in February, so I got 2 5-stars in March, which I guess was quite good. But that's pretty much it. Keep the glare of the sun today is really messing up with the reflective plastic covers that come on library books. But anyway, keep your eyes peeled. Definitely for my cousin Rachel review coming up soon, and possibly Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as well. I already have my full review up for Circus Mirandus, and really these two, I think I've said all I need to say. I'm not doing a review on these two. So, I hope you're all happy, I hope you're all healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!